Mr. Loftus, will you be swearing or affirming?
I'll swear.
Do you swear that the evidence you are going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I am not formally employed. I provide panel beating services on an ad hoc basis. I am the registered owner of 3 residential properties situated on the bluff. That one of the properties belongs to a trust, of which I am a trustee. I reside at my premises with my wife, and Bevan and his family lived at the adjacent house to mine. My other son, Nicholas, and his wife, Melissa Loftus, currently use the property, one of the properties, as a creche, or should I say a CD something. It's not actually a creche, it's a higher learning. It's for older children. The property at number 1, at where Bevan lived, was occupied by Bevan and his family from June the 20th. I have a history of approximately 20 years of service with the South African Police Service. I joined the police in 1986, where I was based in Langlaagte in Johannesburg. I was transferred back to KwaZulu-Natal in the early part of 1987, where I was based in Wentworth Police Station as a constable. I temporarily left the police from 1989 to 1992. I rejoined the police SANAB in 1992. SANAB is SANAB, South African Narcotics Bureau. I held the rank of detective in 1992. Later in that year, I joined the Child Protection Unit. I went back to be based at the Wentworth Police Station in 1993. However, I have come to know that 2 of the suspects are now deceased. The SAPS police dockets that refer to these incidents are Sapingo Case 14 of 9/2022, and the investigating officer at the time was Detective Bengu, and there was another case open.
Sorry, Mr. Loftus, please don't read out the case numbers.
Okay, sorry about that. In another incident, one of Bevan's drivers, Brenton Capture, was at a shop in Wentworth and was shot at but managed to flee unarmed. A while later, the same driver's father was seated on his veranda with his son and was killed in a drive-by shooting. The incidents were registered under the Wentworth case. A friend of Bevan, a friend of Bevan and his wife were shot in Tiflin Road in Wentworth while he was taking his wife to work. His wife was injured and he was hospitalized for a few months due to the severity of the injuries. He is now in rehabilitation to assist him to walk again. This shooting incident is also registered at the Wentworth Police Station. In another incident, one of Bevan's ex-drivers, Denzel De Silva, was shot while awaiting his food order in Wentworth. He survived the shooting incident. A colored male by the name of Deon Ismail Wood was arrested for the shooting and is currently in Westfield Prison. A police docket that refers to this case is a Wentworth case. I now turn to the events leading to the murder of Bevan and his friends. The allegations against Bevan. There are allegations that Bevan was involved in drugs or killing people. I deny that. As far as I know, he lived from income received from his towing and taxi business. He did not live a flamboyant life and lived modestly. I have been in the service, I would have had some idea if Bevan was involved in drugs or in the killing of people. I vehemently dispute those allegations. Involved in drugs were a cover-up by the police to justify hunting him and ultimately killing him. I now deal with the police harassment in the course of them hunting Bevan.
If I may just pause you there. You say you dispute these allegations. Do you still stand by that version?
Yes, let me just elaborate. When I said dispute these allegations, Bevan's been living at the premises next door to me from 2020, beginning of 2020. I can go on to say that as a father, I'm not with him all the time. I can comment on when I'm with him. I don't know what he does or what he did when he wasn't with me, but in my presence and while he was living at that premises, I did not see any evidence of any of the allegations.
Okay. Okay, please proceed.
Okay, the harassment and intimidation by the police began in 2022. But it is important that I set out the context which I believe is important and basis for the harassment. During 2022, both Bevan and myself received information that there was an assassination contract put on Bevan's life in the amount of 2.5 million. I also received information from a policeman I know that the hit on my son, Bevan, was genuine. The word was that I should be careful because if they cannot kill Bevan, they would kill my son, Nicholas, or myself. My son, Nicholas, was a ball taxi operator and had to cease operating because of the threat on his life and subsequently lost his income and the vehicle. Bevan and I were informed that Clive Naicker put up the 2.5 million contract to kill Bevan. On 23rd of January 2023, Bevan called Naicker, Clive, and confronted him in this regard. I have submitted a recording of that call to the Commission. A transcript of that call is attached as GL2.
Sorry, before you proceed, can we then turn to GL2, which should be page 110? Thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Loftus.
I will deal in more detail with the call below. For present purposes, I submit that it proposes strong evidence that Naicker was behind the 2.5 million hit on Bevan's life. Okay, the incident of the 13th of December 2022. On Tuesday, the 13th of December 2022, I was at my home when I saw a number of policemen at Bevan's house. There must have been approximately 20 to 30 members, some in plain clothes, while others were in uniform, including the dog unit, the NIU, vehicle pound unit, and Metro Police. I went outside and saw members of the police walking up my driveway. I took out my cell phone and started video recording them. There were two policemen outside Bevan's gate in civilian clothes. I jumped over the fence into Bevan's yard and approached them at the gate. One of the police officers who later became known to me as Warrant Officer Bevan Naidu shouted at me not to record anything. I asked for Bevan's cell phone. He asked for Bevan's cell phone number and his whereabouts, which I did not know. He told me to open the remote control gate, which I could not do as I did not have the remote in my possession. He told a white captain from the NIU, which is the National Intervention Unit, to arrest and handcuff me. I was not informed of why I was being arrested. However, that could happen. However, before that could happen, I threw my cell phone to my son, Nicholas. One of the policemen grabbed hold of my son, Nicholas, and choked him and took my cell phone from him. I asked the warrant officer...
Sorry, for clarity, you were not arrested eventually. You were arrested twice on later occasions.
I was arrested then. I think I'm still coming to that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I asked the warrant officer Naidu why they were looking for Bevan. He told me that they were from the New Hawks anti-gang unit and that they were there and that there were 2 attempted murder cases from the Belair police station against him. I inquired as to who charged Bevan, but he said that it was private and he could not divulge the information. I asked who the investigating officer was, and a sergeant governor stepped forward and spoke to me. Details with me for Bevan to contact him, but Warrant Officer Bevan Naidu shut Sergeant Governor down and instructed him not to give me any details. Warrant Officer Naidu told the captain to force the gate open, which he did with a pry bar. Warrant Officer Naidu knew that I was an ex-policeman, and he then told me that he was charging me for not cooperating and withholding information, hence the defeating the ends of justice charge. One of Bevan's employees, Eckert van der Bijl, was working on the premises and was assaulted by an NIU officer, which incident was recorded by the CCTV cameras. Eckert was also assaulted later on that day by a uniformed policeman, I should say. Sometime after the initial police raid, Captain Dina Governor, Constable Ian Ronnie of the Metro Police, and another captain, unknown to me, arrived at the premises. I later established that...
Sorry. This is exactly what confused me, and I thought you were not arrested when you referred to just before the arrest happened. And now you say sometime after the initial police raid, and eventually the incident you are referring to now does result in an arrest.
No.
So what's the some time after the initial?
When I say time, I don't mean a long time. It was like a matter of minutes. So it's a very short trace of time because I've got a long driveway. I'd say it's about between 50 meters probably and 60 meters. So by the time that I walked, they walked me up to the garage is at the top end of that 60 meters. So by the time I got there, Dina and Ian Ronnie had arrived.
Okay. And how do you separate the raids? You refer to an initial raid. So if the people are there throughout and they eventually arrest you, what's an initial raid and what other raid is there? Because if you talk about initial, then there must be some other.
Where is that? Let me just go back to that.
Paragraph 36.
36 on. One of them is employed Eckert van der Weyl was working on the premises and was assaulted by an NAU officer, which incident was recorded on TV. Eckert was also assaulted later on that day by an uniform, sometime after the initial raid. Okay, what I mean there is when the 7 and were at the gate. That's when it started. That's what I'm implying. Okay.
Can I, I'm sorry about this. Can I take you back to paragraph 34? You say for Bevan's cell phone number and his whereabouts, which you did not know. I assume it's the whereabouts that you did not know. Obviously, you knew Bevan's cell phone number.
No, I did not. He changed his phone number quite often. Yeah,
also, it was both that you did not know, both the cell number and the whereabouts. Okay, yes. All right. Thank you. Please go back to where you were and continue reading.
Okay, continuing, Captain announcing arrived at there. Okay, I later established that Constable Ian Ronnie from the Metro Police was off duty and had arrived in his private vehicle. There appeared to be no reason why an off-duty member of the Metro would be involved in the police action on that day. Bevan's house, where he lived, was locked, and Constable Ronnie gave the go-ahead for the other policemen to force the kitchen security gate open, which was the NIU captain, and which he did. I asked them whether they had a search warrant, which they could not produce, and I was told that they did not need one. I told them that I do not live at that address and did not have keys to the premises. They insisted I enter the house with them. I asked that only 2 policemen enter for control purposes because I did not know if there were any valuables or cash in the house and did not want to be responsible for anything going missing. Many police members entered and went into different areas of the house without any supervision. A young man, namely Michigan Hippolyte, who was then 19 years old, is now deceased, was asleep inside the house. Constable Ian Ronnie from the Durban Metro picked up 2 Chinese manufactured two-way radios from the shelf in the kitchen and said that they were police scanners. Constable Ian Ronnie and one of the 7 Naidu took Michigan into the bathroom and questioned him about Bevan's whereabouts. I saw Constable Ian Ronnie push Michigan's head into the bath with water and hold it there on 2 occasions while Michigan struggled to breathe. I interviewed and told Constable Ian Ronnie to stop what he was doing to Michigan. He then stopped. Various other items, including 2 pellet guns and empty cartridge casings, including 9mm shells, a Ronnie rifle frame, which housed Bevan's Glock 9mm handgun, were taken. Later, I was informed that an AK-47 round was also allegedly found. I informed the policeman that both Bevan and his wife were licensed 9mm firearm holders.
Sorry, Mr. Loftus, just before we move off that, did Mr. Bevan own any high-caliber rifle or assault rifle?
No, he didn't at that stage, no.
At that stage?
Yeah.
Okay. When did he own?
Let me just correct what I said. He registered a security company and he had applied for firearms. They were shotguns, but they actually were in the license of being processed, which didn't materialize. Okay, so, yeah.
Did he own any AK-47?
No, he did not.
Okay, thank you. Paragraph 40.
40. Bevan sometimes towed vehicles at his address when his business premises were full. The policeman scanned the disc on a Renault Duster motor vehicle which was legally towed and stored with the owner's consent during the floods or storm which occurred in April 2022. When the policeman called it up...
Is this at your property or where Bevan
That's where Bevan was living.
Okay.
Yeah, but I used to live there previously.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was subsequently falsely charged for obstructing or defeating justice because I did not know Bevan's cell phone number and whereabouts, and also could not open the gate. Impersonating a policeman, possession of state property, possession of a stolen motor vehicle, possession of ammunition, which was a .357 Magnum rounds and one AK-47 bullet, which was allegedly found on the premises at Bevan's house.
Just on that paragraph 42.5, you say allegedly. Do you dispute that?
Yes, I dispute it. Firstly, if I can just explain further, Commissioners, the .357 Magnum rounds, I'm a licensed firearm holder of that caliber of weapon. And on the day, there was a captain from the Durban Central actually asked me if I have a firearm, which I said I do. So he went with me to my premises next door and he took possession of my firearm. The AK-47 bullet, I know nothing of that.
Let me get this. You were in possession of state property because you had the bulletproof vest, the uniform, and the handcuffs. So why would that charge be false if, even on your own version, you forgot to hand them back?
I wouldn't say that charge is false because I agree with you, Commissioners, because it was in my possession. But I'm saying it wasn't maliciously in my possession because the implication on the day was that I read from Captain Governor and Warrant Officer 7 ideas that I'm using it for malicious purposes. That's why when it was taken off the wall, it was hanging on the wall, I actually said to them, please take a photograph of the condition of that bag to show that it wasn't open because there are a whole lot of insect droppings on it in the zip area. So I wouldn't say that's false. It's not false because I was in possession of it.
And the badge, where was the badge?
No, didn't find the badge.
Badge, did you hand it back, the badge?
No, I didn't. I destroyed it because they didn't take it. And there are other policemen that will tell you the same, that they also left with their badges and they themselves destroyed it.
Thank you.
Just for context, Commissioner Kumalo, I think the photos relating to that raid are in the bundle. Just, I don't know, in the interest of time, whether you want to go through them, but the one of the badge, of the bulletproof vest and the handcuffs appeared page 951, which is file 2. And 952, and then you see the rounds going forward. I don't know whether you need to see them physically.
I think my concern with the statement was the allegation that he was falsely charged for possession of state property. And I'm saying the charge can be false if you are in unlawful possession of state property.
Yes, I think the witnesses answered it, yes.
So maybe in similar vein, just clarify, the vehicle, the Renault that you say was on the property, it had you do explain that how the circumstances in which it ends up there, but you also say that when they checked, they found that it was still reported as stolen property. So at this point, it had not yet been taken off the stolen property or stolen motor vehicle report. Is that what it means?
That's correct, Commissioner, but if I can just elaborate on that. What happened was where Bevan lived, and he knows the boy is naughty. So he said to him, there's a roadblock opposite the police station. He went to the police station. He says, I'm going that way. If you have anything illegal on you, declare it now because I'm going through that roadblock. He says, and the guy said, no, he hasn't got anything illegal. So he says, when they got to the roadblock, just before the roadblock, the youngster says to him, hey, I've got a firearm on me. So Bevan said he told him, I'm not turning back now. Because if I turn back, it looked like I did something wrong, something to that effect. So there were 5 people in the vehicle, and everybody was arrested. So I got a call that he's arrested at Winter Police Station. I know most of the detectives at Wentworth Police Station because I worked with them. So I established who was on call and who would have the docket. So I made a phone call to say, what is the way forward, what's the charge, etc. So the detective said to me, no, I can come see him in the morning. So I said to him, look, must I get an attorney? He says, no, it's not necessary because he's going to be releasing them because there's no evidence. They can't place the docket, the file in anyone's possession. So fine, I went to the station on the Saturday morning and I spoke to the detective and he was now going to process all the cases that came on overnight. So he went to the cell. I followed him. I didn't go in. So he said to me, no, he's going to release them because Bevan and them were shouting and saying they don't know what they're going to do, etc. There's cameras in the cells. The policeman that was in charge, I won't say his name, he received a phone call from Captain Varley because he fell under Captain Varley's group. And he said to Captain Varley, he's releasing these guys because there's no evidence against any of them and there's no chance of a successful conviction. The phone was on speaker. Captain Varley said to him, no, don't release Bevan. He's going to take that docket and he'll handle the docket henceforth. So Bevan and him went to court based on that. He took possession of that docket as the investigating officer, which is not normal as the captain of the group to investigate the matters. And the matter, I'm not sure if it was thrown out or it wasn't placed on the roll. I need to confirm that. So yeah, so Bevan had said, even in the conversation, when he phoned him, that's why I said to him, don't phone. Because back to where we started. Because Dina is after you and Varley is not a friend of yours. So let's leave it as it is because based on my experience and my inquiries, there wasn't enough evidence in the docket to arrest Bevan. And when Bevan found that they were looking for him for this case, he came to me and he said he related to me that, hey, there's 2 dockets that they're drawing at Belair for him to come and arrest him. And he said to me, I've got no cases, I don't understand this. And henceforth my inquiry started. I forget which number we were on. 51. Bevan nevertheless called Varley and asked him, Captain Varley, to stop harassing Hendrik Nunes, who was his driver and his manager at the time. The phone was on speaker so I could hear the conversation. Captain Varley wanted the bike released, but Bevan refused because he had released vehicles in the past on Varley's word that the client would pay, but the client ended up not paying. Bevan told him to stay out of his business and do police work. Bevan told him that they were both men and the only difference was that Captain Varley has a badge.
Last point, what did you make of that statement?
I want to elaborate on that. The words actually used was, look, Bevan was furious because he was under such pressure. He's getting pressure from these guys for a case he says he knew nothing about, and Varley now. So the words were something to the effect of, Varley, you're a man, I'm a man. You've got blood and bone, I've got blood and bone. You're a policeman, I'm not, you've got a badge. You do your police work and I'll do mine, stay out of my businesses. It was to that kind of effect. In other words, stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine.
Sure.
After calling Captain Varley, Bevan called Mr. Clive Naicker of Roadstar, towing again against my advice. The transcript of the call has already been referred to above and is GL2, as stated above. I have sent the recording to the Commission and I believe it will be played for all to hear. Again, this call was on speaker and I could hear the conversation. I wish to highlight that the following...
So, sorry, just before that, I think I'd like to take up the chair's invitation to play the recording at this junction. About an issue about identification of Bevan and Mr. Naicker, and Mr. Loftus was in that room. So I'd like him to explain, and perhaps if you have a question or the commissioners have a question, they can come from there.
So are you suggest, for example, in paragraph 52, just before the sub-paragraphs, Mr. Loftus says he wants to highlight something, and then we have the sub-paragraphs, which are what he highlights. Are you saying we should not even go there until we've played the recording?
Perhaps I just want, maybe, I don't know how the technical issues will be, but at this point, not to lose the point, I'd prefer that at least he explains 52.2.
Okay, maybe let's just go to paragraph 53 then. We'll come back to the recording and then Mr. Loftus's observations.
Before we move on 52, I didn't include it yet. Before Bevan made the call to Clive, I said to him, why I advised him against it, because I said to him, Clive is a powerful guy. They haven't got anything on you. He'll definitely open an intimidation case against you. Said he can guarantee that. And later on, okay, let me leave it there. I think I'll cover it later on, but I forgot to say that there. All right, and I'll explain further.
You said something similar about, I forget the rank, Officer Valley as
Captain
well.
Valley, yes.
Captain Valley,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
I just forgot to include it here.
All right, thank you. Let's go on to 53 then, if that's fine, Mrs. Kakan.
Thank you. Let's proceed to paragraph.
I point out further that just over 2 months after this call, Bevan was murdered by the SAP officers under the command of Captain Dina Governor in an operation led by him. On the 3rd of February 2023.
Just before you proceed to that,
Okay. Can I
are you there? Can you just read that entire paragraph 18?
During 2022, both Bevan and myself received information that there was an assassination contract put on Bevan's life in an amount of 2.5 million. I also received information from a policeman I know that a hit on my son Bevan was genuine. The word was that I should be careful because if they cannot kill Bevan, they will kill my son Nicholas and myself.
Thank you. I just want to probe just two things there. So you, according to this, you received the information in 2022.
Yes.
Do you remember when about?
No, I can't remember.
And this information was in what form?
Verbal.
From a source?
From a source, yes.
And in terms of this, was it at the same time you at Bevan, or you received it separately from separate sources?
It was more or less around the same time. Yes, because we discussed it, yes.
So I think the question is, was the source the same person?
No, it wasn't the same source. Mine was, if I can recall correctly, Bevan told me that the hit was put on him. And then we were discussing this all the time with people. It was a thing that was going on in the area. And then this friend of mine approached me and he said A, B, and C, which now corroborated what Bevan had said to me.
I just want to make sure that I understand. So you're saying that Bevan tells you for the first time that this is in 2022,
yeah,
that there is a hit on him.
Yes.
And he tells you that it's for 2.5 million.
Yes.
Does he say who it is, who's the person?
At that time, no. I don't recall that he said who was the person. At a later stage.
At a later
stage, the name came out of who it was.
Okay. And then you then get information, or you confirm independently from a policeman.
Yes, that's correct.
And what was the discussion on that from that policeman?
Well, all the policemen in the area knew what was going on. So it was basically a straightforward conversation that be careful because there's a hit put on you. He had heard about it and he confirmed that it's true from his sources. It was a very short discussion.
And it was also, the confirmation did not mention the name.
No, at that stage, no.
Okay.
The name wasn't mentioned at that stage.
Okay. And in that, now that you know there's this thing, did you take it up with the authorities?
No, I did not. Okay. I did not. I can tell you why I did not, because I know the workings of the police, especially with our local police stations, etc. In my opinion, they're not equipped to handle issues such as these. They're really not. And a lot of the time it's because of lack of knowledge and also because of no interest. I've seen that while I was a policeman.
Please explain what you mean they are not equipped to handle matters like this. And I ask because when Mr. John was the IPID officer was testifying yesterday, and he said you went to court for an interdict.
Yes.
The question that I didn't ask, but that was in my head, was why would you not lay a charge of conspiracy to murder or to kill? Why didn't you lay that kind of complaint? So answer my question about why do you say the police do not have the capacity to deal with these kind of issues, together with my question, why did you not lay that kind of charge?
From experience, being in that environment, cases like that, people don't generally want to come forward, first of all, and give statements because they'll have to name.
What is, I think, a lot of your statement contain the words or the phrase that word in the street was. But I'd like to know, to explain what does that mean generally?
Let's talk amongst people on the street, people, groups, just general talk. I mean, it's like social media. People thrive on activities or events that take place. So you pick up something that you hear and you pass it on like a grapevine story, you know, and that's how the word gets around in the street, you know. And it's a lot of the time what you hear is true. Not all the time, but a lot of it. And a lot of the time, some of what you hear is true and it leads to other things, you know. So it gives you some kind of something to grab onto, some of the stuff, and you can investigate. How investigation starts, and you can pursue whatever is said, and you can actually find that a lot of it is true most of the time.
Okay. Then the second point is just to follow on what Commissioner Baloyi said, and what you then responded by, is that what do you think is the reason behind the police seeming apathetic or not willing or killing cases, as it were?
That's a tough one for me to say. I'm going to get into trouble for this. I think it's just laziness. That's what I believe.
Okay, thank you. And then go back to the file, to the statement at page 15, paragraph 52.1, but we'll start with the recording.
The old stuff, Mr. Clive himself, how are you? Like a lot of money, 2.5 on my head now, eh? How you can phone Dane? How you can phone Dane to tell Dane to set me up? You can get the old stuff. The old stuff, Mr. Clive himself, how are you? Like a lot of money, 2.5 on my head now, eh? How you can phone Dane? How you can phone Dane to tell Dane to set me up? Yeah, me, I never ever fought with you. I got no problem with you, but look like you after me. You paying dinner, governor, you paying all the carols. You went back to do all these things for me. I never had nothing to do with you. I never minded your business. I got no flop with you. But Bali, you went out of your way to do all these things to me. You wanna kill me and all. What kind? Bali, where's the numbers? I'm asking you, where's the numbers, Bali? I never do fuck all for you. Check your word, I'm fuck all for you. See our Bali? See our Twitter? No flop, you wanna kill me, right? No flop. The fastest lives the longest. Right? Laka.
Thank you. 2.1, which are the points you wanted to highlight.
52.1.
Page 16 of your statement.
Page 15, yeah.
15.
Yeah, okay. 52.1.
Yes.
When he answered the phone, Mr. Clive Naicker was not able to identify Bevan at first. As soon as Bevan mentioned the 2.5 million hit, Mr. Clive Naicker immediately identified him. And the accused, sorry, let me say that again. He immediately identified him, Bevan, and accused Bevan of killing his uncle. When Bevan accused Mr. Clive Naicker of paying Captain Dinner Governor to kill him, Mr. Clive Naicker did not deny the allegation.
I want to take issue with that. I think you should listen to the recording in the context of everything that was said. Let me take you to page 113, 113. Read 113 at the top.
Okay, I've got it, Commissioner.
Yeah, the fifth entry where Bevan is speaking says yes, and then how you can phone Dane to tell Dane to set me up. Then the response by Captain Naicker. I'm sorry, Mr. Naicker. I phoned Dane. You see, even the fact that is asking a question there, I phoned Dane. It should tell you that implicit in that is, it may in a sense be a denial. I don't even effing know who Dane is. So it becomes clearer. I've never, so your source about me having called Dane to set you up, that's false. So that's a denial. Yeah. But let's go further down. So yes, it's not, it does not directly deal with the 2.5, but the context is the 2.5. And the setting up by Dane is in the context of the 2.5. So let's go further down. The long, there is what Bevan said there, the longest by him. He says, second last line, towards the end, you want to kill me and all that kind. And then the response by Mr. Naicker, I don't. You want to kill me? I don't. Are you making allegations against me or are you telling me the facts? So when you look at all this in context, he actually did deny the allegations. It's on that basis that I say I take issue with what you say when you say he did not deny.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Commissioner.
I'm saying it's on this basis that I say I take issue with your statement that Mr. Naicker did not deny.
No, fair enough. That's the way it's read.
All right.
Accept that.
Chairperson,
at first, I didn't know how to take it because I said to Bevan, I actually asked him, what did he mean by that and why did he say that? He offered no explanation. You know, he says he was angry, so he didn't even realize what he was saying, but he didn't offer any explanation.
and I'm just saying, what did you understand of it? That statement.
If I have to put my own interpretation into it, Clive being now the guy that wants to kill him, as he says in the conversation, so I would put it as to the fastest lives the longest, who gets who first. That's how I would interpret it.
Would it be accurate to characterize it as a threat?
You can characterize it as a threat. I can say that.
And you'll see the article, the Daily Maverick article at 1182 that you've just read. Mr. Naicker is quoted as having said, Bevan ended the conversation with, let's see who dies first.
Are you asking which one is correct?
No, I'm saying, I'm going to come to the question. I'm asking whether you see that.
I see that, yes.
And would you say that is I'm not saying it's word for word or it means entirely the same thing, but would it generally be along similar lines?
Yes, you can. I'd say you can equate it.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I see it's 5 to 11, but I would request that we take an adjournment at this opportune time rather.
Can I maybe ask two questions on the transcript, page 113? there's two references to what are the numbers Bali. What does that refer to or relate to? And it's Bevan who's asking this. He says Bali, where are the numbers? And later on, I'm asking you, where are the numbers Bali?
My own, I don't know what it, I don't know if there's a meaning of it in the streets, but if I had to interpret it, it would be, why are you doing this, to that effect? You know, why are you doing this? Yeah, that's how I would interpret it. Yes.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that maybe that would be a follow-up. I did, now you've triggered it. As to what Bali, the name, what does that mean? Bali.
Okay, Bali means, like they call me Bali, an older person.
Older person?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Kakana.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just request an indulgence? The witness requests an opportunity to clarify that telephone recording on certain aspects.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Loftus.
Yes, Commissioner. I was listening to that recording on my phone now during the break. And where he says, Clive Naicker says, I don't, or you're making allegations against me, or you're telling me facts. To me, it sounds like he wanted to say something, and then there was that talking over of one another. So I just wanted to say what we were saying earlier, that if you listen to it carefully, it sounds like he stopped mid-sentence of wanting to say something. You know? Yeah, so I had the opportunity to listen to it again. It's just a different way I look at it when I heard it. And there's something, I'm trying to find it, where it says, you're putting the cattles on me, you're paying the cattles. I just want to clarify what the cattles mean. The cattles mean the police. Just for clarity.
Why do you say cattle?
It's Durban slang. Yeah. For police, meaning police.
Can you proceed, Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. I think we've gone through paragraph 54, but I think just for context, can you start reading from that? I think it would make sense.
Sorry, I didn't hear it?
54, paragraph 54.
Sorry, page over. Okay. On the 3rd of February 2023, Captain Dina Governor and his team arrived again at Bevan's premises. I was in his yard assisting the welder in making a gate. I told Bevan that there were police at the gate, and he immediately fled. I just want to add something there. There was a security vehicle, Fidelity security vehicle with them, and they stopped at the gate. And he fled because he was expecting them. He knew that they were there to kill him. He was clothed in sleep shorts with no shoes and no shirt. I told Michigan to go with him because of their visit on the 13th of December 22 when they waterboarded Michigan. Bevan and Michigan managed to flee. The police came in unmarked vehicles, stopped at the gate at Bevan's premises. Captain Dina Governor, Warrant Officer S. Naidu, and a dog unit policeman, Warrant Officer Naicker, approached aggressively and said they were here not to arrest Bevan, but to kill him. Because according to Captain Dina Governor, Bevan had threatened to kill the members of the Hawks and Captain Valia of SAPS Brighton Beach Detectives. The police searched my premises and Bevan's home, where Bevan resided. No search warrant was produced and the bedroom door of the house was damaged. I was arrested by Warrant Officer Naicker whilst I was handcuffed on the roadway. While I was handcuffed on the roadway, Captain Dina Governor and Warrant Officer Bevan Naidu and the dog unit policeman, Warrant Officer Naicker, repeated that they intended to kill Bevan. I'm not going to mention other names. There's 4 other people involved. They kept insisting that Bevan was at the Bluff Butchery early that day, and that is why the Toyota engine was hot. Captain Dina Governor and Warrant Officer Bevan Naicker said that I must get Bevan's funeral policy up to date because I'm going to bury him and my wife and I are going to mourn for him. Captain Governor said that Bevan shot his friend Alan, which is Alan Subramani that I mentioned earlier. He's the Durban South Towing Company owner. He said Bevan shot him in the head. Warrant Officer Bevan Naicker said...
Sorry, just before you go there, did he pass away?
No, he didn't pass away. Warrant Officer Bevan Naicker sent policemen into 190 into Bevan's premises, into my daughter-in-law's premises, where my daughter-in-law Melissa runs a creche. She protested because of the upset of the children and further because they did not have a warrant. A policewoman was called and she searched together with the premises whilst the children were there, and Melissa.
Mr. Loftus, just go back to paragraph 57.
Yes.
The second last sentence where you say Captain Dina Govender and Warrant Officer Naidu. They could not have both said that. Surely it must have been one of them.
Okay, let me clarify that. They did not say it both together. It wasn't a one-off statement that they made. These guys overtalk one another. And they were in an aggressive manner. It was like anger in them. So they both said it, but not at the same time. It's like the one was repeating the other. They said it on numerous occasions. It wasn't just clearly we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do that together.
But who said to you, you must get Bevan's funeral policy up to date because I'm going to bury him?
They both said it. Dina Governor said it first, and one of the Naidu, he repeated it. But as I say, it wasn't said once, it was on a number of occasions. They speak fast and they don't stop talking.
And again, why did you not open a case? Because now they're making a direct threat.
I didn't believe that the case would be accepted and that anything would become of it. Because I can say why, I can elaborate, because my wife, my daughter-in-law, both daughter-in-laws went to the police station and they tried to open cases at Brighton Beach. And there was a captain on duty there and he refused to accept the charge. They ended up going to the attorney who took them to IPID. And IPID referred them to Point Road Police Station, and I'm not sure where they eventually opened the case. It was a rigmarole. Nobody wanted to open a case. And this is not an uncommon practice. I've witnessed this before. So people lose interest. So people lose interest and faith in the police.
Just when you say the wife and daughters tried to open a case,
yes.
Was it in relation to the same incident or a different?
No. It's a different incident.
And what was that incident about?
My daughter-in-law, Bevan's wife, she opened a case of theft of items and cash from the house.
But was it against the police? Because
yes, it was against the police. There were cases eventually registered at Brighton Beach. I know my daughter-in-law that runs the creche, her case docket is at IPID. Eckhard, as I said, he was one of the workers of Bevan. He was a driver and a runaround. He opened a case of assault. I was witness to that statement being taken by an IPID policeman in my house. That case is still with IPID. I had opportunity to speak to, in fact, Eckhart phoned me last night. I hadn't spoken to him or seen him in over a year. And I asked him what was the progress on the case. Nobody ever contacted him.
Okay, and then back to paragraph 57. Do you mention this incident in your affidavit?
At some point you speak to someone from IPID and then they say to you, you must go and lay a complaint at a police station. Did I?
I wasn't present when this happened.
So you've never have you personally had any dealings with IPID to do with what was going on with you and Bevan?
Let me say this. When the police came in February, and they did what they did because my oldest son was assaulted by police as well. Eckhard was assaulted. My wife had a case to open. My daughter-in-law had a case to open. There was a gentleman from IPA that came to my house. And I assumed that he was on call. That's why he was attending. This was after the cases were open. So he came to follow up further. So at that time, only my one daughter-in-law's case, the one that runs the crash, she had opened the case. So he followed up on that. And he seemed interested because he said they've been watching this group of people doing these kind of things for a long time. So he went a bit further to say they had a little team that was looking into this, where these guys were doing this kind of thing on alleged crime scenes. So from there, he actually interviewed Eckhart, and he took a statement from Eckhart, and he opened the case there. And then he interviewed my son as well, but he didn't end up taking a statement from him. Then there's a guy this incident happened on the 3rd of February. That was a Friday. The Monday was the 6th. There's a guy from Newlands East who I met for the first time, but Bevan knew him. I was liaising with Bevan while he was ducking. So he was liaising with that guy. And that guy was called. This detective from iPad actually said to me, he should come over. He came over and he interviewed him about an assault that he'd been through at the hands of the team. I can't say which policeman it was, and another youngster. So that's the interaction I had. It happened right in my lounge.
And you don't know what has happened with those IPID cases, because my understanding from other evidence is that when there's been a complaint against or relating to police conduct, IPID then takes over the matter from the police station and then they do the investigation as it falls within their powers. Now, you've not had any report backs, any dealings with IPID about the cases that you say you've referred?
My daughter-in-law that runs the crash, I went into hiding, which I'll come to later. While I was away, they followed up on the case of, when I say Bevan, I'm including the other guys that were. They followed up on the case at IPID, and she said she approached that investigator that they had a docket, and she asked him what's the progress, and she says that he said to her that he's got much more serious cases. Hers is just assault common. He hasn't got the time to attend to a minor crime.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Skaka.
But interestingly, at page 1170.
Sorry, I had it on the wrong page. Let me just get that. 1169.
Yeah, but let's go to 1170.
1170. Yes.
There's a report there, and it's just for your comment. It says Bevan Loftus, 34, was a tow truck operator with a mean reputation who died with 4 others in what police described as a violent clash on the afternoon of Saturday, 1 April. Would you say the mean reputation allegation, as it were, is also false?
That's false.
Okay.
He didn't have a mean reputation. If I can elaborate?
Yes, yes.
The towing truck in the taxi industry is a very tough environment. So, but if he was put in a situation, for example, I'll use what I said earlier, hypothetically. If he got to an accident scene, which he only did when he started his business, when at later stages he didn't drive, he never driven a tow truck. He wouldn't go to accident scenes. But in the beginning, to establish the business, he still didn't drive, but he used to attend accident scenes. So if he got to a scene, for example, and one of the other operators who came after him were trying to take that tow from one of his drivers, he'd step in and dispute that action. When I say tough, I would say that's the kind of tough I would say that it was.
Mr. Loftus, you without in any way commenting on the circumstances of his death and what you say were the threats that were being made, what you say about the cases that were being pursued against him and the allegations, without me commenting on that. It's fair, is it not fair to say that you were not around the clock with your son, as no parent can ever be around the clock with their child? You have also testified, for example, that because he changed his phone so many times, you didn't even know his telephone number at the time that the police were there, that you really are not in a position to categorically deny the description, for example, that he was mean. He may well have been mean out in the streets, and out of respect for you, would never show that to you. But as a parent who's not around the clock with their son, it seems to me that you may not be in a position to say in every case that allegations are made about him and where he's described in these terms, you may not be in a position to say all of that is lies. You have to make room, at least I think, you would have to make room for, well, I didn't live around the clock with him. So I don't know what exactly he got up to, but the son that I know could not be described as a mean person. Is that not, would that be a fair proposition?